All right, so the ending part of subtopic 6.6 is in vitro fertilization, and here's a little video to explain it to you guys. So first things first, thinking about IVF or in vitro fertilization, what are some reasons why a couple might choose to try and conceive a child this way instead of the natural way? Well, one reason could be if we have male fertility issues, if the semen and the sperm aren't very good swimmers, can't get to the egg very well. This prevents that issue completely by actually injecting the sperm into the egg. It could be that the female has reproductive struggles, or that she wants to have a baby without a male, or we have homosexual couples who are trans couples who choose to have babies this way as well, because it's not possible for them based on their anatomy to do so. But this way, it's still some of their DNA going together to do so. Okay, so for IVF to actually work, the first thing that has to happen is several eggs have to be developed. And so they can be harvested at one time. And this is because it's very expensive and very time consuming to do this process. So it's always better to do multiple eggs and develop multiple follicles at once to have the maximum chance of success. So because of this, it's not the natural way to do things. We have hormone therapy as the first step in this whole process. So the first part of hormone therapy is to suspend the female's normal cycle. So we're going to use different hormones to help stop her normal progesterone, estrogen, FSH, LH, GnRH hormone cycle, so that she's not producing any more hormones, any more follicles, and then going to use a high dose of hormones, including particular FSH or follicle stimulating hormone, a higher dose than normal, to make sure she has many grafted follicles. And we call that super ovulation, where we're producing many follicles at once, and the female will have injections regularly to help make this whole process happen. So look at this picture here. What you can see is kind of summary of the process. Is we have the hormones here of stimulation through therapy, where we're both first suspending the normal cycle and then encouraging many follicles to develop. And then we're going to actually remove the eggs, harvest the eggs with kind of like a vacuum similar kind of idea in the doctor's office, of course. And then the sperm sample will be collected from the male and it just has to ejaculate into a cup. And then we have the eggs when we fertilize. This happens in the lab, usually this kind of way, where it's using a microscope and very specific and technical tools to actually inject the egg into the sperm. And then we have a little bit of time, maybe 3 or 4 days, to allow the zygote to develop into an embryo and go through its first few days of division, which would normally be happening inside the fallopian tube. But because this is in vitro, it's in glass, it's in the lab, it's not in a body, we need to give it time to do that. And then we take those embryos and implant them into the uterus, and hopefully they implant successfully into the endometrial lining, and this leads to a pregnancy. Here's a little video with some to help show this, and it's just showing us what I just talked to you about, but hopefully the sound works for you guys.
IVF can be divided into 5 phases. In phase 1 of IVF, patients take FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone injections, which increase the amount of follicles and therefore eggs produced by a woman in a given month.
I enjoyed the experience. I mean, it was something I could do. I could physically get my, my head wrapped around it. It was tactile. It was real. It wasn't imaginary or theoretical. It was something I could actually do to help the process.
The shot part, that stuff didn't bother me. It was just, you were just very swollen, very sore. You'd be in the car driving and you'd say, don't drive over the bumps too hard because it just hurt so bad.
Each follicle will have an egg in it, so we're trying to retrieve many follicles to get many eggs.
Phase 2 is the retrieval of the eggs from the patient.
Now, when the egg retrieval is done and the eggs are removed, there's a whole nother side of the experience, which is the lab side. And here we have the embryology team. And through the embryologists, they work both with eggs, sperm, and then the embryo together. And they're the experts that help make the magic.
Phase 3 is fertilization. The fertilization technique used in IVF is called ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection. What is now commonplace is in reality an intricate procedure which took nearly 2 decades to develop. Under a powerful inverted microscope and using a micropipette, skilled embryologists collect an individual sperm. Then, with the help of micromanipulators, The egg is gently held in place as the sperm is injected directly into the egg's cytoplasm.
As ICSI has evolved, it essentially has cured male infertility. Arguably, it's probably one of the biggest advances that we've seen in our field.
Once the egg is fertilized for a period of up to 5 days, the resultant embryo grows and develops in the laboratory.
Phase 4 is where the ball is back in our court. We actually take the embryo, place it back inside the uterus, and then phase 5 is hopefully a positive pregnancy test 2 weeks later.
Okay, so that was IVF. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And you can see in this picture here, this is showing the actual process. We have kind of a very gentle vacuum holding the oocyte in place and injecting the semen directly inside. So this is really great if the male doesn't have high quality sperm, maybe they have low motility, maybe they don't move, they don't swim very well, they can't get there, but the couple wants to have a biological baby. It can be done this way. Okay, now there are several ethical issues surrounding IVF. What ones can you guys think of? Take a minute, pause the video, and just think a little bit about what are some issues that people in the world might see with this process. So one of the first things is the idea that we're playing God, or we're messing with natural systems that are natural, and we shouldn't do things artificially. And that if people can't have a baby naturally, maybe they're just not fit enough to do so. In terms of evolution, this would never happen, of course, but humans have not been undergoing natural selection in any real way for many thousands of years. So another possible ethical issue people might have is that we're helping people who might not be able to have a baby natural, like single women or single men, homosexual couples, trans people, that kind of things, who may not be able to have a baby in other ways. And depending on the cultural values around this, people may have an issue with facilitating a pregnancy with couples who do not follow a heteronormative idea of the nuclear family, which is not everyone should be able to have a family if they want it, as long as they can take care of the baby and be happy together and take care of each other. But it is something that couples in those particular gender roles in the world often encounter struggles with. There is a monetary cost, a very large monetary cost to this. So it's very expensive to have IVF, and depending on the healthcare system in the country in which the people are living, it can be very, very expensive. And then if your healthcare doesn't cover it, or don't have insurance, it can bankrupt somebody. It can cause significant financial strain on a family. Another one is that not all the harvested eggs are used. So all the eggs that are harvested, they all get frozen. And then if they fertilize a couple eggs, they implant them. And if they're successful, then they don't need the rest of the egg unless the couple decides they want to have more babies later on. But then those eggs have been harvested and they're not being used. So some people ethically, they would say, well, that's a waste of an egg. That could potentially be a human. That's unethical to do so. Similar to kind of the argue with embryonic stem cells. And then even closer to embryonic stem cells, that not all embryos are implanted. So you might have a half a dozen successfully fertilized eggs that all develop into healthy embryos, and what will normally happen is they will implant a few of them into the uterus, and of the idea that it's likely that at least one of them will be unsuccessful, so you have less chance of having no successful pregnancy. If it doesn't work out, then they can try again with embryos that are already good to go. If it does work out, though, then those embryos, what do you do with them? So there actually are places, I know in Canada, they have like an embryo. You can adopt an embryo where someone has gone through IVF and they have embryos they decided not to use because they were pregnant and didn't want to have any more kids. And then they paid to kind of freeze and store those embryos because they wanted to make sure that they weren't kind of destroying them, so that people pay a fee to kind of store them. And other people who want to have a baby and don't care if its DNA comes from them can actually adopt those embryos and implant it into their own uterus if it's a woman, or into a surrogate as a way of having a baby, which is a really interesting idea. So these are ethical issues with this. Whether they actually genuinely are is a whole other issue, but the idea is that we need to be aware of cultural and worldviews and these things as they impact these kind of medical and biological phenomena. Right, here's the key ideas, and those are the very last key ideas of this course. So, of this unit. Not quite, guys. Hopefully they're helpful for you and you'll be successful on your test next week. I also have for you here, this is a finished slide of all the different hormones for reproduction, male and female. Well, 1 male and 5 female, and the answers to that note-taking strategy at the table. Feel free to copy that if it's helpful for you. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to come see me, and yeah, take care.